Let's go to the book, Galatians, to the Galatians, chapter 2. It says, "Perceive the grace that had been given to me." In other words, Paul went to the three great pillars. And their names were James, Cephas is Peter, and John, the three disciples who were what? They were considered as what? So what happens? They recognized. Listen to this. Check it out. John, James. That is James, the brother of Jesus in the flesh. Cephas, who is Peter, and John were the pillars before the grace was revealed to Paul. They did not know grace because the previous verse, blessed, tells you that Peter was given what? The gospel of what? Verse 7, what does it say? What does verse 7 say? But on the contrary, when they saw that the gospel for the uncircumcised had been committed to me, as Peter was, the gospel of what? Circumcision is Judaism. Blessed. Are we clear? Circumcision. Say circumcision. It comes from being circumcised. It comes from Moses. It is a right. So Peter had a gospel of the law, of circumcision, of Judaism. But now Paul comes and manages to separate this and tells us that those three pillars recognized. They recognized Paul, and look what verse 9 says. It says, "Perceive the grace," say grace. And when James, Cephas, and John, who seemed to be pillars, perceived the grace that had been given to me, they gave me and Barnabas the right hand of what? The right hand of fellowship, that we should go to whom? And who are they? Paul and Barnabas to whom? To the Gentiles, and they to whom? To the Jews, to the circumcision, blessed. So what was there? A separation from what? Look, here are two things. Peter. Hey, look at that authority. Paul didn't, because Paul came as an abortive at the last. Paul was leaning out here, starting. Imagine, and then Paul, who was perfect in circumcision, is now with Barnabas preaching something else, grace. And then, for the idea was this, well look, we recognize that Judaism should not be preached to the Gentiles. Hello? Do we agree? Yes? Okay. Very well. Then we understand that. We're going with the Jews. We'll carry on with our business. Even though the end of the law is Christ. Hello? The end of the law is Christ, but Peter, John, and James continued with their teachings. Because the one to whom grace was given was not Peter, nor John, nor James, it was Paul. And Paul had a disciple whose name was Barnabas. And then they held a meeting. And there are meetings that are held hypocritically. There are meetings that are made and fulfilled, isn't it? Have you ever had a meeting in a certain place where everyone agreed on something and then it wasn't followed through? Well, look what happened here. In verse 9, it says, the right hand of fellowship, that we should go to the Gentiles, and they would go where? Now look what happens in verse 13. Look what happened to Paul's little friend. And the rest of the Jews also played the hypocrite with him, so that even Barnabas, Paul's friend, was carried away with their hypocrisy.